Radio.
Good morning. It's Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter. It is Monday, February 28th, 2011, and this is No BS Job Search Advice Radio. Thanks for coming back and listening. As you may know, I was not on last week. I broadcast every Monday morning at 9 a.m., with the exception of when there's a national holiday in the U.S. Last Monday was Washington's birthday, and that weekend is a long weekend. So my family and I went down to Asheville, North Carolina, because we decided to think of moving and look for homes there. It looks like that's going to come to pass. We love the town, love the city. It looks like it's a nice environment for all of us, and that includes my son for the schools there. This past weekend, I was away for a few days as well, this time without my family, hosting one of those men's retreats I do. So got back late last night, got reconnected, have a buyer for my house. It only took about 2 weeks to bring this all together because of an introduction from a friend of a friend. So just wanted to let you know what was going on with me, and let's go through some no BS job search advice. And today I just want to talk with you about resumes. And there are different ways to market yourself online. When I first started off in recruiting, the idea of a resume was something you mailed into an ad in a newspaper. That newspaper could be something like, I'm based in New York now and have been my entire career, but Sunday you buy the New York Times, go through the ads, mail it out. During the week there are one or two other days where there's some advertising and you respond to that, and basically you pray for a response. For years now, obviously, job boards have replaced newspapers as the primary source of resume submissions and working to find work for yourself in that manner. And I don't see that really changing for a long time. They just have an enormous amount of traffic. And you want to be in the places where people are looking for you. So at the same time, there are ways to complement what you do with job boards. And there was an article in this weekend's New York Times that is triggering this show, and that was the dilemma of do you put your resume on the web on a website? The Times article talks about the dilemma that people have. If you put your resume on a website, it can be found by your current employer, and they can get angry and fire you. And that's really no different than in days of old when you'd answer an ad in the newspaper, and they might find your resume, and they would run the ad in a way that they didn't identify themselves by name, and you might submit your resume that way. They might get annoyed and fire you. Well, frankly, these days, I think it's a little bit different philosophically. In many professions, work is really no more than temporary. So, for example, in creative areas, web designers, for example, or people in PR, I don't really see that there's any sort of an issue in having a creatively oriented website that demonstrates your skills and what you might have done where. Maybe you don't include dates, so it's not specifically a website, but it becomes samples of your work that people can see and get a feel for what you've done. You can also show some of the private projects that you've worked on for clients or for friends, and we'll give them an idea of the nature of your work. Now, if you're in what I would politely call white-collar labor, what you can do is pretty straightforward, and that is, again, show your work. But I encourage people, instead of doing that on a website, frankly, LinkedIn is the best avenue for it, because, again, that's where the eyeballs are. You can point people back to blogs that you might have on your professional topic of competence. But the real place is about LinkedIn these days, because that's really become the place to be if you're a professional. So, again, don't worry about the website. Start blogging on your area of expertise. People will find your blog through Google, and setting up a blog is very easy. Most web hosting services allow you to install WordPress for free. WordPress is remarkably easy to use. You can even find plugins that will allow you to get some AdSense money from Google. Don't expect to get rich from it, but while you're paying for hosting, you might as well get some reimbursement through AdSense. When you write about your subject, pick important topics or pick specific areas of expertise where you can shine. Also, respond to questions on LinkedIn in your area of expertise, because those become indexed and can be found using Google. They'll be found by people looking for people in that area of expertise. And another area to write about is in Google Groups. I'm sorry, not Google Groups, the groups on LinkedIn. Groups like those hosted by Google and Yahoo have become far less important than what they used to be 10 years ago. I wish it were different, but the way things are now, LinkedIn Groups has become the paramount group site for professionals. So start writing about what you do. Answer questions of people in areas where you have expertise, and you'll start to notice that recruiters and others who might be looking to evaluate you are going to start finding you. With regard to resumes, one of my big bugaboos, if you happen to use a resume, whether you submit it to a job board or to a company directly through their applicant tracking system, is the idea of embedded headers. I find it so annoying that when people embed what their name is and their address and the page number and such, because applicant tracking software doesn't allow you to parse that data, so it has to be done manually. It all takes time, folks. Don't waste our time. Make it easy for us. And frankly, I know of a lot of people, a lot of corporations that won't even look at the resume because they have to provide tracking data to the federal government. And if they have to manually view your address and stuff to get it into the database, they don't want to bother because it's a labor cost to them. So don't make it hard for folks. Don't embed your name and address and email address in the resume. Just stick it up there on the top and make it easy for folks to use. So another thing I just wanted to chat with you about is the notion of references or testimonials on LinkedIn. And with those, just simply suggest to you, think about the impact of some of the words that some of your references use. I saw one today that is for a person who has a job title of program manager, where they're coordinating lots of different projects at a firm. And the term that the reference used to describe this interview, this person, was detail-oriented. Now, on one hand, it doesn't sound bad, but my first reaction was this person's anal retentive, and if I think that way, I know others will. That basically means they're so detail-oriented they annoy people. So what I would suggest for people who are in careers where being detail-oriented is important, you use the term thorough. It's not as charged a phrase as detail-oriented or meticulous might be, and it conveys the same thing. So pick apart those words carefully and ask your references to use less charged phrases. So I'm going to switch over to some of the jobs I'm recruiting for at this time. Again, I've been away for a couple of days, so these are some of the ones that were in my inbox upon my return. If I don't have salaries readily available, I apologize. I'll be catching up on it later, but in the meantime, it's what I've got. So first of all, I know this was out right before I left. There's a webmaster in York, Pennsylvania. They're looking for someone with 3 to 5 years of experience, no consultants or job hoppers. They prefer people who are coming out of a .NET environment with IIS background being an absolute requirement. So I just want to be clear about that because these are all language. They require someone with .NET experience and IIS background. This is in York. They want someone with experience with web environments running IIS and preferably WebSphere, an understanding of SOA, web services, and SOAP. This is paying to $75,000. And they will contribute to relocation. They say they'll do visa transfers. Frankly, I don't believe them. I think they would rather just get someone local, but if necessary, they'll go outside of the area. All these jobs will be on my website, by the way, jeffaltman.com. You can read more details there. With the same firm in York, there's a DB2 systems programming job where you'd be responsible for installing and maintaining DB2 running on mainframes, UDB, running SUSE, Linux, and related software products. This is going to about $80,000 on a base plus bonus. Here, I think they're going to find it necessary to do a visa transfer because at that salary, I just don't see anything else. I have a director of enterprise architecture in Maynard, Massachusetts. The client is building and delivering tools and services for a large publicly traded firms, and these include solutions for web hosting, news distribution, multimedia, webcasting, and market surveillance functions. So they want to bring on a veteran with at least 10 years of experience in architecture and developing services-based applications, who's had at least 3 years in a lead architect role, full life cycle experience, strong business analysis skills, experience with designing enterprise-class web applications. I don't have a salary on this. Again, this was in my inbox. A market data developer role going to about $160 on a base, at least 5 years of experience in programming, background with low latency, high performance, server-side C++ ideally. In addition, Unix APIs, Red Hat preferred, Windows APIs, TCP/IP in Berkeley sockets, as well as APIs, multi-threading, STL, and such. There's also a role in Jersey. That job is in Jersey City, as is the next one, where they're looking for a senior database architect going to about $110 on a base. So it's a database architect and DBA rolled into one with strong design skills, going to about $110. And then lastly, there's a C++ quant developer role in New York going to about $140. This is a job based in Midtown Manhattan that's with a financial software firm. So they're looking for someone with a strong quantitative C++ background to join the financial engineering team that they have that has about 7 people in it. Again, this is not a bank, it's not a hedge fund, but they have that kind of experience. If you have that kind of experience, that's what they're looking for. So again, if you're qualified, interested, and available in any of these positions, please email your resume to me at thebiggamehunter@cisny.com. If you don't fit any of these jobs, you can still send a resume to me, but in the subject line, use the phrase on spec. This way I can look at it at my convenience. If you want to hear to know about more jobs I'm recruiting for, come over to jeffaltman.com and you can search available positions I have. While you're there, you can get a complimentary subscription to my job search e-zine, No BS Job Search Advice that I publish every Tuesday, rain or shine, no matter what, with the exception of 1 week a year where I decide I'm just going to take a week off. You can explore the site for previous articles from the e-zine. You can post your resume to a variety of different sites, free. I have easy to work with career builder links on the site that you can play with and upload your resume. And of course, you can learn about my job search books, which include No BS Job Search Advice, Get Yourself Hired Now, Get Your Job Search Organized Now, The Single Best Question You Should Ask on Any Interview, and Look Me Up, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and social networking way to job search success. What I would say to you is if there's one book that you should buy, if there's one piece of information that you'd be interested in, it's that single best question you should ask on any interview, because frankly it has a lot of good advice